You know what's scarier than a bad headline? A headline that ends your career. From billionaires losing everything to pop stars who went from arenas to crickets. Tonight we're counting down 10 legendary celebrities who managed to destroy their own legacies. And trust me, some went down in flames, some fizzled in slow motion. But every single one shows how fast the climb to fame can flip into freefall. So buckle up, because number one is the kind of meltdown that still makes Hollywood shudder. Welcome back to A Sip of Drama, where the scandals are messy, the spin is shameless, and the tea is always piping hot. And hey, if you like your gossip with a side of subpoenas, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's free, it's fast, and it guarantees you won't miss the next meltdown. Now, when I say ruined careers, I don't just mean people who lost a deal or had one bad flop. I mean careers that imploded, either in one shocking scandal or in a slow-motion car crash of bad choices. All right, drama first, tea second. Let's count them down. At number 10, we've got a fall from the pop throne that didn't involve handcuffs or lawsuits, but was still brutal in its own way. Katy Perry was the pop superstar of the late 2000s and early 2010s. Her album Teenage Dream 2010 didn't just top charts, it tied Michael Jackson's record with 5 #1 singles from a single album. That's the kind of stat that cements you as legendary. Add to that her candy-coated visuals, playful persona, and powerhouse performances. She was pop for an entire era. The peak? 2015 Super Bowl halftime show. 90 million people watched Katy ride a giant animatronic lion, surrounded by dancing sharks, belting out her biggest hits. Left Shark went viral, and Katy cemented herself as stadium royalty. But then came the crash. Her 2017 album Witness was marketed as a reinvention. More serious, more political, except critics hated it. Fans didn't connect. Singles like Bon Appetit and Swish Swish underperformed, and suddenly the woman who once dominated radio couldn't buy a hit. The world had moved on to younger stars like Ariana Grande and Billie Eilish, and Katy's neon wigs and campy visuals felt dated. Then came her stint as a judge on American Idol. Instead of reigniting her star power, it became a PR headache. Clips of her scolding contestants or making awkward jokes went viral. Not as funny Katy, but as cringe Katy. Even recent years haven't been kind. In 2023, fans criticized her treatment of a young mom contestant, sparking backlash that overshadowed the season. She still has residencies in Vegas. She still pulls in money. But her dominance? It's gone. Katy Perry went from the unstoppable queen of pop, tying Michael Jackson's record, to a performer fighting for relevance. It's not a scandal in the tabloid sense, but in career terms, it's devastating. Because in pop, irrelevance is the ultimate scandal. Jennifer Lopez, JLo Jenny from the block. For over 2 decades, she's been the definition of a triple threat. Singer, dancer, actress, fashion icon. She had it all. In the late 90s, JLo exploded with her breakout role in Selena, 1997, followed by hits like Out of Sight and The Wedding Planner. Then came the music career. Albums like On the Six, and JLo gave us If You Had My Love, Love Don't Cost a Thing, Jenny from the Block. By the early 2000s, she wasn't just a star, she was an empire. But the cracks began with her film career. Giggly, 2003, with Ben Affleck, wasn't just a flop. It's still considered one of the worst movies ever made. That bomb, paired with other box office duds, torched her Hollywood credibility for years. She clawed back with moments like On the Floor in 2011, but never regained her early dominance. Fast forward to 2024, and her Netflix sci-fi flick Atlas got shredded by critics and audiences. Instead of reminding people of her star power, it became a meme for how far her Hollywood shine had slipped. And then came the constant PR churn around her personal life. Her rekindled marriage with Ben Affleck was supposed to be a fairy tale. Instead, it became tabloid fodder. Paparazzi photos of Ben looking miserable or clips of public spats overshadowed her projects. Fans stopped talking about JLo the performer and started talking about JLo the headline. Add to that her canceled 2024 tour dates due to low demand, a brutal sign for someone who once sold out arenas worldwide, and it's clear her dominance is gone. Jennifer Lopez is still working. She's still wealthy. But the legendary icon era is over. What's left is a career in damage control, not cultural dominance. At number 8, we've got Kingston, the man who gave us one of the catchiest songs of the late 2000s and then gave tabloids years of courtroom chaos. Back in 2007, Kingston was everywhere. His breakout hit Beautiful Girls topped the Billboard Hot 100 and turned him into an overnight star. His reggae pop sound felt fresh, fun, and radio couldn't get enough. Follow-ups like Fire Burning and his Justin Bieber collab Eeny Meeny cemented him as part of that early 2000s pop soundtrack. But the shine didn't last. Behind the scenes, Sean Kingston's career started to crumble under lawsuits, scandals, and straight-up financial chaos. By 2014, he had already filed for bankruptcy, listing just $500 in his bank account and more than $1 million in debt. For someone who once lived the beautiful girls lifestyle, that was a brutal reality check. Then came the lawsuits. Multiple jewelers accused him of fraud and unpaid bills, claiming he bounced checks for high-end bling. By 2021, Kingston was facing new allegations of running scams, taking luxury items on consignment and never paying. And then, 2024 hit like a hammer. Police raided his Florida mansion in May, arresting Kingston on charges of fraud, grand theft, and assault. Headlines screamed, from beautiful girls to federal charges. His mother was also arrested in the same raid, accused of being part of the scheme. The fallout? Sean Kingston isn't seen as a nostalgic throwback star anymore. He's seen as a cautionary tale, a guy who had fame, hits, and money, and let it all slip through his fingers. He's not just canceled by the culture, he's entangled in the courts, and that's a career killer few ever recover from. At number 7, we've got Dan Schneider, once the king of Nickelodeon, now one of the industry's most disgraced names. For anyone who grew up in the late 90s and 2000s, Schneider's shows defined an era. He created hits like All That, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, and iCarly. His quirky brand of teen comedy turned young actors into household names and cemented Nickelodeon as the go-to channel for kids' TV. Behind the camera, he was the network's golden boy, winning awards, running huge budgets, shaping what millions of kids watched for over a decade. But while his shows projected goofy fun, the reality behind the scenes was messier. For years, staff accused him of being verbally abusive and toxic. Actors later described manipulative environments and blurred boundaries. By 2018, Nickelodeon quietly cut ties, calling it a mutual parting. And then came 2024. The investigation Discovery docuseries, Quiet on Set, dropped like a bomb. Former child actors and crew members spoke out, alleging years of abuse and toxic control. The stories were disturbing, consistent, and impossible to ignore. The fallout was immediate. Schneider's legacy as the Nick King was torched. Instead of nostalgia, his shows are now rewatched with suspicion. Schneider went from mogul to pariah. His name, once synonymous with kid TV hits, is now shorthand for one of Hollywood's ugliest scandals. At number 6, we've got Charlie Sheen, the man who turned Hollywood's highest paycheck into Hollywood's biggest punchline. In the late 2000s, Sheen was at the absolute top of his game. Starring on CBS's 2.5 Men, he was pulling in nearly $2 million per episode. Think about that. In one season, Sheen made more money than most actors see in a lifetime. He was the most bankable sitcom star in the world, but the cracks were already there. His reputation for hard partying, substance abuse, and volatility was no secret. Still, CBS tolerated it until 2011. That year, Sheen launched a public feud with creator Chuck Lorre. He trashed him in interviews, threatened lawsuits, and went completely off script. And instead of dialing it back, Sheen doubled down with bizarre interviews. This is when the meltdown went viral. He coined phrases that instantly became memes. I've got tiger blood. Adonis DNA. Winning. It was surreal, hilarious, and career-ending. Warner Brothers and CBS finally had enough. Sheen was fired, replaced by Ashton Kutcher, and his golden boy status evaporated overnight. Then, in 2015, another bombshell. Sheen revealed he was HIV positive, after lawsuits from ex-partners alleged he knowingly exposed them. What could have been a moment of sympathy instead piled onto the scandals. The fallout? Charlie Sheen went from the most bankable actor on TV to a cultural cautionary tale. His career wasn't just damaged, it was incinerated. All right, we're at the halfway mark. And if you're still watching, clearly you love a good downfall as much as I do. So, hit that subscribe button. Think of it like your VIP pass to Hollywood's next implosion. Now, from butter to busted. At number 5, we've got Paula Deen, the queen of butter, fried chicken, and Southern charm. Until one deposition fried her entire career. For years, Deen was unstoppable. She had a sprawling empire, best-selling cookbooks, a hit show on Food Network, restaurants with her name on the door, and sponsorships with giants like Smithfield and Walmart. She wasn't just a chef, she was a brand. Then came 2013. During a lawsuit filed by a former employee alleging workplace discrimination, Deen gave a sworn deposition. And in it, she admitted to using racial slurs in the past. The transcript leaked, and the fallout was instant. Within days, Food Network announced they wouldn't renew her contract. Walmart, Target, Caesars Entertainment all cut ties. Book publishers canceled deals. Sponsorships evaporated. In less than a week, Paula Deen went from culinary queen to cultural exile. Her tearful apologies on Today Show and other interviews didn't help. If anything, they made her look out of touch, fumbling through defenses about being of another time and not understanding how deep the damage went. And that's what made it so devastating. Deen's empire wasn't just built on food, it was built on her persona. Warm, approachable, America's Southern grandma. When that image cracked, everything else fell apart. She's tried comebacks since. YouTube channels, small-scale cookbooks, even a brief return to TV. But the empire never returned. Her name is now shorthand for how fast corporate America will run when a brand turns toxic. Paula Deen's career didn't just fade, it collapsed in less than a week. At number 4, we've got Michael Richards, better known as Kramer from Seinfeld. For nearly a decade, Richards played one of the most beloved sitcom characters in TV history. The quirky neighbor, the physical comedy, the wild entrances, Kramer was pop culture gold. But in 2006, everything changed. During a stand-up set at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, Richards was heckled by a couple of audience members. Instead of brushing it off, he exploded. He launched into a racist tirade, screaming slurs and violent references, while the crowd sat stunned. Someone pulled out a phone, recorded it, and within hours, the clip was everywhere. Remember, this was 2006, YouTube was barely a year old, and viral video was still a new concept. Richards' rant became one of the first cancel culture clips of the internet era. The fallout was instant. Richards tried to apologize on The Late Show with David Letterman, but it didn't land. The audience actually laughed awkwardly during his video call-in, showing just how much credibility he had lost. Hollywood slammed the door shut. Roles dried up, his reputation tanked, and unlike other comedians who've bounced back from controversy, Richards never recovered. Here's the kicker. Seinfeld was one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. Richards should have spent the rest of his life living off reruns and the nostalgia wave. Instead, his career ended in one night, on one stage, in front of one unlucky audience with a recording phone. Michael Richards went from beloved sitcom star to cautionary tale, proving that sometimes all it takes is a few minutes to ruin everything you built. At number 3, we've got Kanye West, one of the few artists who managed to redefine music, fashion, and pop culture, and then torch it all in spectacular fashion. Let's set the stage. Kanye wasn't just another rapper. He was the guy who shifted the entire sound of hip-hop with The College Dropout, 2004, Graduation, 2007, and the critically worshipped My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, 2010. Critics called him a genius. His Yeezy line with Adidas turned him into a billionaire. He sold out stadiums, married Kim Kardashian, and put himself at the center of every cultural conversation. At his peak, Kanye was untouchable, an artist, a mogul, a provocateur who could say outrageous things and still walk away richer. But the cracks were always there. The infamous 2009 MTV VMA moment, storming Taylor Swift's acceptance speech with "I'ma let you finish," should have been a warning sign. He survived it, even spun it into meme culture. But by the 2000s, Kanye's controversies got darker. By 2018, he was publicly embracing Donald Trump, wearing a MAGA hat, and calling slavery a choice in a TMZ rant. Fans started asking, is this art or is this unraveling? And then came 2022. Kanye went on a series of anti-Semitic rants, on Twitter, in interviews, even doubling down after losing platforms. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Adidas, Gap, Balenciaga all cut ties. His Yeezy empire, worth over $1 billion, collapsed almost overnight. Forbes removed him from their billionaire list, concert plans crumbled, brand deals evaporated. What makes Kanye's fall so striking isn't just the money, it's the legacy. For years, Kanye was the genius who pushes boundaries. But after 2022, the narrative flipped. He wasn't a visionary, he was toxic. Sponsors didn't want him. Radio stations distanced themselves. Even fans who once defended Kanye being Kanye couldn't justify it anymore. And unlike a Paula Deen or a Michael Richards, Kanye's fall is still happening in real time. Every outburst, every lawsuit, every new headline keeps him in the spotlight, but not the spotlight he built his empire on. Kanye West went from Forbes covers to cultural exile, from stadium tours to canceled shows, from billionaire to persona non grata. It's one of the biggest implosions in modern pop history, and proof that even at the top, you're never untouchable. At number 2, we've got R. Kelly, once the king of R&B, now a convicted predator serving decades in prison. In the 90s and 2000s, he was everywhere. I Believe I Can Fly, Ignition, Remix, Step in the Name of Love, hits that made him one of the most successful R&B artists of all time. His music was wedding staples, graduation anthems, and radio gold. But behind the hits, the rumors never stopped. His illegal marriage to Aaliyah in 1994, she was just 15, raised alarms. Lawsuits alleging inappropriate relationships piled up. And in 2002, he was indicted on child pornography charges after a tape surfaced. The trial dragged on for years, ending in a 2008 acquittal. For a while, that acquittal let him keep performing, keep selling records, and keep dodging accountability. But the shadow never left. Then came 2019's Surviving R. Kelly docuseries. Dozens of women went on record with stories of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation. Public opinion flipped overnight, and prosecutors followed. In 2021, Kelly was convicted in New York of sex trafficking and racketeering, sentenced to 30 years. A year later, another conviction in Chicago added 20 more. His music was pulled from playlists, tours canceled, his once untouchable catalog now toxic. The R&B king persona is gone. R. Kelly's name isn't tied to his music anymore, it's tied to his crimes. At number 1, we've got Harvey Weinstein, the man who went from Hollywood's most powerful kingmaker to its most infamous convicted felon. For decades, Weinstein wasn't just a producer. He was the producer. He co-founded Miramax, built the Weinstein Company, and shaped modern cinema. If you wanted Oscars, you went through Harvey. He had the money, the marketing machine, and the reputation for turning indie films into global hits. Movies like Shakespeare in Love, Pulp Fiction, Good Will Hunting, and The English Patient all had his fingerprints on them. He wasn't just making movies, he was making careers. Stars, directors, entire Hollywood dynasties owed their rise to Weinstein's power. But behind the red carpets and acceptance speeches, there was another story. One whispered about for decades, but never fully told. In October 2017, it all blew open. The New York Times and The New Yorker published bombshell exposés. Dozens of women came forward with allegations of sexual harassment, assault, and abuse of power. Actresses, assistants, journalists, some of the most recognizable names in Hollywood. The pattern was chilling. Weinstein allegedly used his position to lure women into hotel rooms under the guise of business meetings, then cornered them with threats or promises. The stories weren't just shocking, they were horrifyingly consistent. The fallout was nuclear. Within days, Weinstein was fired from his own company. The Weinstein Company itself collapsed into bankruptcy. His name was erased from film credits. Entire Hollywood circles distanced themselves overnight. And the scandal didn't stop with Weinstein. It cracked the dam. The Now Me Too movement exploded, giving women across industries the platform to speak out against harassment and abuse. Weinstein's fall didn't just end a career, it redefined an era. Legally, the hammer came down. In 2020, Weinstein was convicted in New York of rape and sexual assault, sentenced to 23 years in prison. In 2022, a Los Angeles jury convicted him again, adding another 16 years. He's currently serving what amounts to a life sentence. From Oscar king to prison inmate, Weinstein's fall is the ultimate example of a career not just ruined, but obliterated. His name, once printed on movie posters, is now shorthand for abuse of power. His empire is gone. His reputation is radioactive. Hollywood will move on. Weinstein never will. And there you have it. 10 legendary celebrities who went from untouchable to unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. From Katy Perry's quiet fizzle to Jennifer Lopez's stalled empire, from Sean Kingston's courtroom chaos to Charlie Sheen's tiger blood meltdown, all the way to R. Kelly's convictions and Harvey Weinstein's life sentence. Now, I want to hear from you. Whose downfall shocked you the most? And do you think any of these careers can still be saved? Or are they permanently sealed in the Hall of Fame of celebrity disasters? Drop your verdict in the comments. I'll be reading. And hey, if you love sipping on scandal with a side of courtroom receipts, don't forget to subscribe to A Sip of Drama. Because trust me, the next big meltdown is already brewing.